We are live. This is the first time I've gone live under the After Show Carnage channel. Thanks for joining. Recently, as of yesterday, Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks joined Charlie Kirk at Turning Point USA in Phoenix, Arizona. This is something that is a significant controversial development on the left and the right. I wish I didn't have to divide the two groups up, but we do, because they're not the same groups. Here we go, taking a look at what's happening. Cenk Uygur joined Charlie Kirk on the stage. We're going to do a reaction to it. And historically, Cenk Uygur hasn't been a friend of MAGA. Still isn't. So this is an awkward moment. I am all for conversation. And if the conversation is productive, not just ad hominem, I'm all for it. But what was surprising here also was that when Cenk Uygur got on stage, he was cheered. I don't understand that. Here's Cenk Uygur 46 days ago, basically now 47 days ago, as of this recording. And you tell me how this makes sense that he gets a standing ovation.
And they lost, it looks like, to a syphilitic clown. Total moron, con man, Donald Trump.
Is he okay?
So
he sounds like he can't breathe.
If you lose to a buffoon like Donald Trump twice, what does that make you? Donald Trump is a crook, and he's going to rob you guys blind. You're talking about losing with class when that bitch Donald Trump tried to steal an election, tried to terminate the Constitution, or set off a riot, that he didn't mind if his vice president was murdered, bum rushed the Capitol, tried to destroy our democracy. He's the very worst in how
he's going to MSNBC, destroy our
no class at all.
Cenk, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for that warm welcome. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
I'm sure he does appreciate it. The thing that I don't know is how could you understand it? You can appreciate it. I don't understand it. I don't know if Cenk does either. Maybe he does. We might get into that. Let's go and look at the substantive discussion that they had and the reaction to that. Here's Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks. Anna Kasparian's not there, but he's kind of representing both of them. Cenk Uygur, the Young Turks, Charlie Kirk, TP USA. This is TP Turning Point. They have TP USA Turning Point, and then they also have Action, which is their political action committee in Phoenix, Arizona. What are they going to talk about?
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for that warm welcome. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
So Cenk, the spirit of inviting you is that there's some confusion of these divides of right versus left, populist versus corporatist. I guess a good opening would be, as a man in the progressive movement, as one of the leaders of the progressive movement, what do you make of this last year, the state of the Democrat Party, and kind of American politics from the more progressive left perspective?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm proud to represent the left flank of the populist movement. And I think we need both flanks, so I'm happy to have this conversation. In terms of what has gone wrong in the Democratic Party, it's the same thing that went wrong in the Republican Party, but I do have to give you guys credit for a revolution well done. And what I mean by that is not a revolution against the Democratic Party or the left or the country, but a revolution against the establishment. So
I'm confused. I thought you said that in 2020 that Donald Trump was a part of an insurrection. You just said that less than 50 days ago. So I don't who is the establishment? The establishment under the populist right, the MAGA standpoint, would be the same people who allegedly took that process in 2020 away from them. He said that Donald Trump encouraged people to march on the Capitol and do bad things. Why did Donald Trump encourage them that? They believed they were going against the establishment. So I don't understand why he's getting applause. Charlie Kirk knows that. There are some weird things going on in politics right now. And it is not static. I'm going to go on in this live and tell you also a reason why I would say if they were to drop the race and drop the 2020 stuff, I would probably align with Cenk more than Donald Trump at this point, because one of my top priorities, if it's not yours, that's fine, is I am anti-tiny hat country. Very, very much so. They control too much of my country. I want them to get out of the politics of my country. Cenk, at least, even though he's funded by a tiny hat, at least he gives lip service to pushing back against the tiny hat Ben Shapiro supported country. Let's get back to the clip.
I knew you guys were for real in fighting against the establishment when I started going on right-wing shows and I would say something negative about Mitch McConnell. And when I did that in the past, what I would get back is, oh, no, Mitch McConnell's great. Pelosi's terrible, but Mitch McConnell's great.
Let's do that here. What do you guys think of Mitch McConnell?
All right. Yes, I love that. So look, for my left-wing friends that are watching out there, they just booed Mitch McConnell. That's a great thing, okay? And let's do one more. What do you guys think about Dick Cheney? My left-wing friends out there, we have been waiting for the right-wing populists to boo Mitch McConnell and Dick Cheney our whole lives. Take the win. Take the win.
The right wing, as far as the populist right, has been booing these people we're going on 8 years now. What the hell is going on? Are you just finding this out now? How did you get to this conclusion? Why are you so late to the party? Why are you being welcomed to the party? I'm fine with him being on the stage. Don't get me wrong. I would go to speak at a Nicole Hannah-Jones event or a Kamala Harris event. I wouldn't change my positions, but I wouldn't expect to get cheered. I would be fine with getting booed. I don't want to be cheered by them. So I'm confused by this. I'm confused as to where you are populist right when Cenk Uygur can get on the stage, Anna Kasparian can get on the stage, the Young Turks can get on the stage, but Young Nick can't get on the stage. Explain that to me. Young Nick challenged Donald Trump way more respectfully than this clown. I played the clip to start off where he called him, what does syphilic mean? Is he talking about syphilis? I don't even know what that means. He was talking about Donald Trump as a clown, should be jailed, basically, insurrectionist, all that. Young Nick's never said that. And Cenk has spoken out against the Ben Shapiro loved country. And Nick does that as well. So what's the difference between the two? I think what we found out is Nick is a threat because he would steal the show. Cenk is just, it looks like he's just folding in under the umbrella.
Now, what we need to do in the Democratic Party is we need to do likewise. We need to have a revolt against the Joe Bidens, the Kamala Harrises, and the Nancy Pelosi's. And the Hillary Clintons, and now all of a sudden the Dick Cheneys. What are they doing on our side? Are you guys nuts? Right?
I have to interject. When all of a sudden Kamala Harris is doing the Liz Cheney thing, I said, does she want to lose? I mean,
that was messed up.
What's amazing is I said the same thing.
That was messed up.
Look, Dick Cheney polls at 13%. What lunatic thought it was a good idea to wrap yourself around Dick Cheney?
Yeah.
I mean, when we started the Young Turks 22 years ago, longest running show in internet history, first ever YouTube partner with original YouTubers, one of the driving forces was get Dick Cheney out of office, right? And now for Kamala Harris to come full circle and say, oh, I've got 90 corporate CEOs backing me, and I've got all these executives on my side, and I've got Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney on my side, it was so counterproductive. It's not what the left wing stands for. It's not what the Democratic Party should be about. So the problem is the establishment. They are controlled by the donor class, and mainstream media is their marketing arm. They do not do news, they do propaganda.
And Donald Trump, and Cenk has said this in the past, Donald Trump is controlled by those same interests. So I can't go to a Nicole Hannah-Jones event if I can't respectfully, I'm not looking to rile people up and start a argument. I'm too old. I'm not doing no stupid debate stuff or anything or try to get people angry if I'm going on to if I'm invited to their crib. But I will have to say, I don't understand what's going on. Donald Trump has gotten in under the fold as well. So you all on the populist right have to be careful about that as well. Let's hear if he says that, bringing that up later on.
And one more thing. What I want you guys to recognize is that mainstream media you think is against you. You think they're against the right wing. But they also hate Bernie Sanders. And they also hate me. And they also hate the populists on the left. What mainstream media really loves is the establishment and the elites. They're against all of us combined. And if we dare unite on issues we agree on, they will be livid, and it'll be a beautiful day in America.
And that is correct. I mean, you were kicked off of some of the cable news channels for having heterodox opinions on certain issues. So let's kind of look at the last couple of years. We can go back to the Bernie Sanders thing. Explain to us, why is it that right-wing revolution was successful, and the Bernie Sanders with 2 attempts actually won the primary in 2016, and he had it stolen. Again, stolen election talk can be a little controversial. They stole it from Bernie Sanders in 2016. Why was that revolution not successful?
Before we get to that answer, if you're just tuning in, it's Cenk Uygur, co-founder, of course, of the Young Turks, and Charlie Kirk, leader, of course, of Turning Point USA. These are 2 men that, to me, you have to respect. I don't know how you can't respect them, at least as far as their accomplishments, but you can question how this union formed without some type of reconciliation. The same thing happened with Bobby Kennedy Jr. Same thing happened with Tulsi Gabbard. Same thing happened with J.D. Vance. These are all never-Trumpers. All never-Trumpers that have just been brought into the fold, and there's never been a true reconciliation or explanation of what happened between then and now, at least to the populist right, MAGA, to me. You've seen J.D. Vance do a couple interviews, but that's usually to the corporate media. I need you to talk to MAGA about basically what happened. He was on Joe Rogan, but you can see Uyghur's getting a warm reception. Cenk Uygur getting a warm reception on the stage. Let's get back to it and see what Cenk has to do with Bernie. He came out of the Bernie movement, like many on the left.
Yeah, I think it was because Donald Trump was a celebrity and they didn't take him seriously. So they made the mistake of giving him mainstream media coverage. And so they thought, and if you remember, Bill Clinton had this brilliant idea, we'll encourage Donald Trump to run on the Republican side and it'll destroy the Republican Party. How'd that work out for you, Bill?
This is true.
And so I remember saying at the time, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Because what I sensed was you need a non-politician to lead the revolt. So, because all the politicians, and right now they're having a conversation on the Democratic side about 2028, and the only people they mention are politicians. And my answer to that is, hell no, okay? Because the politicians are used to the corruption. They grew up in the corruption.
He's right.
They like the corruption. They got their power through the corruption. So I don't want that. I don't need that. And so when Trump came on, they gave him coverage. And here's when look, some people think that things changed after the election. No, I've been saying this from day one. And so back in 2016, actually 2015, after I think it was the second debate, when Trump was on stage and he said, I gave all these guys money and they did exactly what I wanted. At that point, everyone on earth, certainly in establishment and mainstream media, says he has no chance of winning, none. I went on the Young Turks and I said, he's going to win the Republican primary, okay? Because people hate corruption and they know it in their bones, okay? Now, we will disagree on, is Trump really not corrupt? is Trump really going to do the things that he promised? Is he really a populist? I would love to prove me wrong. I would love that, okay? And like, my God, if Trump got money out of politics, one thing we're known for is credit where credit is due.
You see how the story now morphs. Before it was Trump is an insurrection. This is 50 days ago. Trump was an insurrection. And he said that even between then and the 50 days. Trump is an insurrectionist. We can't morph from, this is Cenk Uygur morphing, and a Kasparian in a way too. Morphing from Trump is an insurrectionist, that means he should be in jail. That means he shouldn't even be president. He tried to create a riot and all that, rushing the Capitol. Cenk believes in Russiagate. I don't know if he does to this day. He was a Russiagator. That's why Jimmy Dore left, in a way, right around the time when Jimmy Dore used to be, if you don't know, Jimmy Dore used to be on the Young Turks. Jimmy Dore never bought into. Jimmy Dore's a real one. Why isn't Jimmy Dore on the stage? I don't understand what's happening here. If Jimmy Dore is on the stage, I'd be like, whoa, that's great. Jimmy Dore is based. He's real. He doesn't hold back. That's probably why you wouldn't have Jimmy Dore on the stage, because he's not going to. I don't know if Jimmy Dore is going to make an agreement not to bring up the tiny hat country, the New Jersey size country. I don't know if he would agree to not bring that up. And he's unpredictable. Why wouldn't you have Kim Iverson on stage, Jimmy Dore on that stage? Why is he there? So he goes from those positions that we can't come to the table if you have those positions. Because if at the time of 2020, I was a Trump supporter at that time. I am no longer. I'm not going to digress as into why. Well, you can already tell. But at that time I was, if I didn't have a family and kids, I could have easily been in DC. If I had a same job I have now with no other family like bills and kid stuff and daycare and all that, just putting money in the bank, which would not be as a fulfilling life, but just hypothetically, and I'm just putting money in the bank and playing Xbox all day, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if in another world I was doing that, then hell yeah, I'd take out a couple G's or whatever and go to DC and maybe even put on a MAGA hat. And I could have been locked up. And this dude right here is still talking about it like it's an insurrection, like the J6ers should be locked up. You can't go from that take. Charlie Kirk, TP USA, Tyler Bowen, how are you allowing this? I wonder if you don't know, how do you allow him to go from that to this take here to kind of morph it into, I hope he does well. I wonder if the Young Turks were founded by a tiny hat, and Turning Point USA is funded by tiny hats. No different than Daily Wire. They're funded by people who support tiny hat Christians. But all of them are the funders, at least, not Cenk. I just wonder if the funder of TYT says, hey, we're not going to make any money in this space where we're just lying. Nobody's buying this crap anymore. Look at CNN, lowest ratings ever. During an election year, lowest ratings ever. Guys, we gotta kind of pretend. We know on that side they'll say we know Trump is whatever, but put that aside so you can get on the stage. I know all the other tiny hats. We'll get you on there. We'll tell Charlie Kirk he has no choice, and here we go. Jimmy Dore doesn't have that same possibility. I'm just allegedly, possibly, maybe. I think could have happened.
Okay. I would give him all the credit in the world. We're not there yet. We're not close to there yet. So when we get into the issues, hey, how about, and remember, guys, you also have donors. Beware of the donors. Don't forget that, and don't let your guard down, okay? But so on the Democratic side, we have got to elect a populist. If we don't, we're going to make the same mistake we made when they anointed Hillary Clinton, when they anointed Joe Biden, and when they anointed Kamala Harris. To my Democratic friends, how many times are you going to lose before you realize that mainstream media and the establishment are lying to you?
And so is that energy forefront in the Democrat Party right now, and I'm not saying this facetiously, read us into what the power brokers of the Democrat Party are saying. Are they saying we need to run more to the middle, that we need to embrace more populism? We're hearing some of the names, but what is the vibe of the people that do this for a living?
Yeah, so I can tell you definitively that the Democratic leadership and the Democratic establishment will never voluntarily go in a new direction. They will never voluntarily accept populism. They are built on donor money. They are of the donors, by the donors, for the donors. So what I need left-wing voters to understand is that they're never going to give you what you want incrementally. Martin Luther King talked about the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. Oh, if we just go a little further with Joe Biden, he'll give us another crumble and another tiny increment. No, they're going to just pick a new and improved corporate robot like Pete Buttigieg or Gavin Newsom, and they're going to come out with a new script, and they're going to say, I am now a populist, and they will wear flannel shirts, and they'll go to barbecues, and they'll pretend to eat ribs, and then they'll sneak out and go to French Laundry, right? So don't believe the corporate robots. Remember how many times they lied to you. We need to do a populist revolt and pick a populist left-winger so we could have a real contest in this country. The establishment Democrats are never going to win. We need to go populist, and the way to do that is not by negotiating with them, it's by defeating them in a primary.
Is the Democrat grassroots, are they invigorated towards that end? Because it seemed as if they weren't obviously thrilled about Biden or Kamala Harris. But you could say whatever you want about Bernie Sanders. I have massive worldview disagreements. He had a legitimate grassroots movement behind him.
Yes, he did.
Of small dollar donors, of people that were working, of activists. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like that has disappeared a little bit in recent years, or at least...
I just have to think about this from a strategy standpoint. What is the purpose of bringing Cenk on the stage at TPUSA? I just have a feeling that they want to get more. It brings headlines. It brings attention. There's nothing that's happened on the stage at TPUSA that I'm interested in talking about other than this. So I think it's to bring eyes to the event. Otherwise, it's just a boring, whatever, a circle, whatever, of people talking about Transformers and gender theory. I saw James Lindsay, and Lindsay's got to get in the gym, just respectfully. Yeah, and I'm not. I've been open about my weight's been up and down and all that. So I'm not trying to say I'm any type of perfection. After this live, I'm gonna get on the bike. My wife is working out right now. Got to get it going, but I'm sidetracked. But James Lindsay needs to get on. He needs to get on the elliptical. So he's getting loose. But and that's not even as a diss. It's just an observation. If you saw him on the stage. But why are we still talking about this goofy stuff with the Transformers and a man and a woman, and we don't have anything bigger or more important to talk about? So that's the most exciting thing they have to talk about. Maybe Brett Cooper, who has youthful, young energy, who I like her a lot. Other than that, who are you interested in? I like Posebek, but I mean, I just follow this stuff so much. I already know what he's going to say. It's not, Tim Pool's there, and they're pretty standard too. That's why they talked about young Nick there. And I think that's why they brought Cenk there, because it's going to bring eyes to it. It brings controversy to it. You've got to have a little bit of an edge or something. But the danger here is you're bringing somebody into your home who, to me, really just wants to take people away from the TPUSA. And I think that's, when you come to the table like this, we got to have clear understanding of what's the purpose. If I ran TPUSA, and I obviously wouldn't. Charlie Kirk is obviously way smarter, better businessman than me, and he bent the knee to the tiny hats. But if I were running it, just like when Trump came together with MAGA, with RFK Jr., to me, I would say, here's why. Here's what this is about. And I never got that. I still don't know what it's about. I still don't understand the partnership. And I don't understand the partnership here, Charlie. So I'm going to look and see. I don't know if he's going to be doing a show on Monday or what. He has a great show. Don't get me wrong, Charlie Kirk show. And I like TPUSA, but I don't understand this. Bring him on the stage and explain. There's still some time left to do it, but I haven't heard it yet. Let's get back to the clip.
Has gone to sleep. Am I correct in that? And what would it take to awaken that sleeping giant?
So there's a couple of different branches within the Democratic Party and the left, but the two most important ones are the populist progressive left, that's Bernie Sanders, and we can debate about progressive issues and policies on another day, right? But then there's the establishment wing. So the populist wing is already.
Just to be clear, I don't have a problem with them not debating it right there. They're not trying to do a debate. I still, though, need a reason why he's there. That hasn't been fleshed out. I don't need a debate. I need an explanation.
There. That base that was there in 2016 and 2020 still exists. And remember, guys, and I say this to you and I say it to the left wing, Bernie won the first 3 states in 2020. He was this close to winning until Obama and Clyburn called in all the candidates.
He's right.
And said, you all have to bow to Joe Biden. And then mainstream media then said, Joe Biden is the greatest. And they started talking about how Bernie Sanders, the most successful Jewish candidate in American history, had followers who were brown shirts.
Whoa.
And fascists and Nazis. Where have you heard that before? So whenever it's an outsider, all of a sudden mainstream media says fascist, even if it's a Jewish candidate, right?
Interesting. Cenk's trying to play up to the Jewish angle at TPUSA. He knows his crowd. You can say that. Why should the TPUSA audience care about any of this, though? See, they haven't tied that in. I'm not against Bernie. I've talked about many times how I love the 20. I didn't like the 2020 movement was kind of whack. That was the George Floyd. And 2019 into 2020, it was a weird. But the 2016 Bernie movement was lit. I loved it. That's where all your favorite people from the left were involved in that movement. It was a real movement. But why should the TPUSA crowd care about the 2020 Bernie movement? I don't understand that. Especially after Cenk said 2020 there was nothing wrong with the 2020 election from the Trump standpoint. This is just so weird.
So they use the same tricks. And you guys have been canceled. I've been canceled. They do the same thing to both of us over and over again. So the left-wing populists are ready, but we do need some more votes from people who used to be in the establishment Democratic camp. And why were they in that camp? Because they love corruption, they love war, they love change? No, guys. They were in that camp because mainstream media lied to them. And mainstream media told them, oh, Bernie can't win. Bernie was up by 12 points on Election Day in 2016. They said, he's radical. And they called you guys radical and said you couldn't win. They call us radical and say we can't win. But they're wrong. They're lying. So what I need Democrats to understand is stop believing in Morning Joe and The View and all the garbage on TV.
So that's a really good point about the media ecosystem. You guys are, without a doubt, the most popular.
I'm going to agree with Cenk when he's wrong. I don't care who it is. There's people who I absolutely despise, and they despise me. And if they say something right, I say I agree. I'm just very black or white in that way. I found out as I got older that everybody's not like that. So he says a lot of stuff I agree with. There's no argument there. That's why he's able to stay on the stage without getting booed. He's not stupid. He's a smart guy. And whether he's being genuine or not at some point doesn't matter. I will follow whoever has the best take. And right now, with what Cenk is saying and his position on Israel, he's not going to say it here. Obviously, he knows his audience. He's going to big up that Bernie Sanders was Jewish. But I would follow him more than Trump. We just saw news here from Trump, and I threw this out to MAGA because I just need an explanation of it. So I'm going to give you an example of why, even after I'm saying all this, why I would potentially be more aligned, if you could say, with Cenk here. Alan Dershowitz was the lawyer for Jeffrey Island, the infamous one. And the reports are he's currently being considered as the special envoy to monitor and combat anyone who talks bad about the country Ben Shapiro loves. Alan Dershowitz, if you don't know, is a Harvard professor, former lawyer, like I said, for Jeff J. Island, reportedly being considered for this role. This is an ambassador level position. It does require Senate confirmation. Can we stop for a second? Am I the only one who never knew that there was a role of a special envoy to monitor and combat anybody who says something wrong about the New Jersey-sized country? That's not even constitutional. I can say whatever I want about whatever country I want. It's not even our country or the people of that country. It's an ethno-state that says it's a home for the Jays. So if you have a country that's an ethno-state, what that means is it's homogeneous. There's sprinkling of other people in it, but it is a state for the safety of the tiny hats. Then I can just say I'm anti the tiny hats then. As far as because you talk about the state, it's the home for the tiny hats. I don't need to parse it out. You're the one that said that the country is home for them. It's not like the United States where you don't say the United States. We never say the United States is home for all of the whiteys. Nobody says that. Some people want it to be that, but that's not what people say. Nobody says the United States, the home of all the blacks or the home of all the Christians. That's not the position. But for that country, it is. So then the names can be named. Those are the rules that you created. And there's a special envoy to monitor basically overtly violating the Constitution. How the federal government should have no monitoring over legal speech or legal actions. The special envoy to monitor and combat anybody who says something against this country is a role within the U.S. Department of State established by the Global Anti-Sem Review Act of 2004. I've never heard of this before. This office aims to address and combat anybody who has criticism of the Jays. I can say whatever I want about the blacks. I can say whatever I want about the whites. I can say whatever I want about the Christians. There's no special envoy to monitor and combat anything bad said about Christians. But there is a special envoy to monitor since 2004, 20 years, to monitor and combat anyone who says something bad about the Jays. This is protecting Jay communities and promoting tolerance. The special envoy, so I guess I'm being monitored. Congratulations. The special envoy is tasked with monitoring acts of disagreement with the Jays. They serve as a primary advisor to the U.S. government on matters related to people speaking out against the Jays, coordinating efforts across various governmental departments to work against anybody that does anything that goes against the Jays. The office contributes to annual reports on human rights and international religious freedom. Is it an ethnicity or religious freedom? What is it? Assessing the nature and extent of anybody, of all incidents where somebody speaks out against the Jays or that country. It's appointed by the president. It requires Senate confirmation. It's that serious of a position. Wow. As of now, the role is held by Deborah Lipstead, who has been in office since May of 2022. She has emphasized the importance of addressing rising incidents of people speaking out against that country because more people are noticing. The office operates within the annual budget. Jeez. And Trump is not just nominating anybody. Jeffrey Island, who was allegedly a spy for that same country. So we have allegedly a spy who was a PDF file for that country, and the lawyer who represented him, and Trump was the president, which I don't want to make a connection there, but if this is true news, how could you not make a connection? Trump is considering nominating the lawyer, and Trump was the president when the guy, Jeffrey Island, when the cameras went out or whatever happened to the cameras and he self-eliminated. Who was the president? Trump was. Can someone explain this to me? Where am I wrong? What am I saying that's off base here? Help me out. Troubling to say the least. Let's get back to the clip here. And then I'm gonna do a little bit more of the clip and then maybe look at a couple comments from older videos.
Progressive, over-the-top, non-mainstream media sanctioned community. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, 27 million subscribers, 30 billion views. I think it's fair to say.
No, I'm not saying that sarcastically. I don't know of anyone that comes close. However, do you think there's a robust alternative media ecosystem on the left that is comparable to what's built on the right? I could say confidently what we have on the right is pretty impressive. We have from podcasting to videos. We don't rely on cable television. Who here listens to podcasts or social media for all your news? Raise your hand. I mean, every single hand goes up. So do you think the left has some work to do in developing over-the-top media to be able to bypass the main networks?
Good question.
Yeah, so we have TYT as a giant network, but we have a lot of great progressive and populist shows that are not part of TYT. That's in the left-wing ecosystem. So I don't think that that's the issue. I don't think that
I would give a shout out there and give a shout out to your homies. I mean, that's what it's about. So I'm just different than that. And helping to educate the audience, not just to give a shout out, to educate the audience on who's out there. So who are you talking about? Whatever. The awkward part about this is when you go to the Young Turks channel, you see that their views don't match their kind of subscribers and the money. They got funded by Tiny Hat to the tune of 20 million back in the day, and still getting funded by them. With all that money, you would expect more views. Brett Cooper get more views. Jimmy Dore gets way more views. I mean, there's a lot of people on the left that Destiny. I mean, you look at Destiny. He's not a leftist. He's like a corporate shill, but he's kind of like a Kamala Harris type corporate shill, but he gets way more views than the Young Turks. So this is not Charlie doesn't know. I don't think he doesn't really follow. He's got his own thing going on. But Cenk should be pressed up on that. And that's why Cenk is there on the stage. Because they don't have a lot of views anyway. It's not like they have a lot to lose. It's not like Cenk being on the stage. He will get some negative feedback. Cenk Uygur will get negative feedback from the Young Turks audience on this. But it's not like he's going to lose his whole base. He's already kind of wilted down to a core that aren't going anywhere, I don't think. But he can get more people. I'm watching them more now than I used to. So he can get more people. That's why he's on that stage right now.
There isn't enough shows. I think that there's a couple others. One, on the right, you guys do a great job of coalescing, okay? So you do a couple of things well.
That's true.
You work together well.
That's true.
And you're more welcoming, if I'm being honest.
True.
We're glad Cenk's here, right, everybody?
Are you clapping for him? But he's right.
And a lot of people on the left know this as well.
On the left, they eat each other. On the left, man, the left is a war zone, boy. If you watch these pods on the left, man, they be going at it. Now, I'm glad it's not physical, but I'm just saying, it's figuratively speaking. On the left, man, they be throwing hands. They be like, you say, what about me? You say one bad word. You could do a 3-hour live. You say one bad word about somebody on the left. They got their sleeves rolled up. They got their StreamYard ready, and they are going to give you all the heat. I kind of like it, but at the same time, the right is way less, they don't do that as much. You see a little bit of it, but you don't really see Crowder taking jabs at Charlie Kirk, or, you know what I mean? It's only like if you're young Nick, then you're out of the game. Everybody else is in the game. As long as you're okay with the tiny hats, you're in the game, and there's maybe a little bit of squabbling, but not a lot. The biggest squabbles you see on the right have all been with the New Jersey-sized country, with the Candace Owens, young Nick, and all that. But you saw Crowder with the Daily Wire, but I think that kind of had something to do with it too. But the biggest squabbles on the right, outside of that one issue, there really aren't many at all. But on the left, they go. They go hands free. Man, they can't wait to go at it at each other.
If you agree with MAGA 5%, the answer you get is welcome, right? Come join us, right? On the left, if you disagree 5%, they go, get out of here, you're a right winger, you're a fascist, right?
I'm sorry, it's not even 5%. It's like 0.00001%. It's 0.000. You can agree with them on 99.999999999% of things. You say one thing that they don't like, they will never forget it either.
But if you push enough people out and you guys welcome enough people in, eventually you win the popular vote. That's what I warned them about, and that's what happened, right? So, look, I propose simple rules. The 3 rules of the internet. Rule number 1, when we disagree, we fight. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Now, rule number 2 is afterwards we must have a beer together, okay? And rule number 3 is
No. We have to understand why we're discussing. I would like that. Don't get me wrong, but if your take is 2020, there were no problems. Trump's an insurrectionist. The J6ers should be in prison. We're not having a beer, bro. Like we're fundamentally just off. So I don't want to hear we'll have a beer together. No, not necessarily. We won't.
For God's sake, when we agree, let's unite. So, for the left, we have too much division. We almost never unify. I don't mean with the right. I mean internally.
I agree.
The left loves to attack one another.
I
love you guys on the left. I love you. But every once in a while, when we get a yes, when we agree, can we please unite?
Yeah.
And the second thing we need is for the old, I'm being honest, and on average, not everyone, of course, but for the older Democratic voters, please turn off your television sets. They're lying to you. They're tricking you. They're trying to get you to vote for corruption. They're trying to get you to vote for policies you don't even want. So if we can do those 2 things, then we'll be in great shape.
So I'm not sure how you'll feel about this, but there is a not a consensus. There is a belief with some people like Seth Moulton and others that some of the embrace of what we would call wokeism or whatever was a reason why Democrats had a less than desirable election outcome.
True.
Do you subscribe to that belief? How do you interpret that when some people say we need to kind of shed away some of the more new elements of the cultural implications of politics outside of economics, like the Seth Moulton belief that where he says the trans stuff hurt us?
Yeah, so
Great question, and that's what I said. The race transformers, that stuff has to be put aside, man. That doesn't have nothing to do with when we're talking about. He talks about unity and stuff. That's at the federal level. These things that they're talking about have nothing to do with the federal level.
look, guys, on that stuff, I've been having these debates internally with the left wing. And I explained yesterday, actually, on the Young Turks. Look, everybody's positions are in a different part of the left-right spectrum and on different policies. So I can name you policies where you say, oh, that's pretty moderate, right? I can name you policies that, I mean, you're not sure is left or right wing, but that is definitely populist, right?
We're not talking about policies, though, bro. We're talking about social, cultural issues.
But some of my policies might be called extreme left in America. So, for example, I'm massively in favor of gun control.
Yeah, what is it? Yeah, that's not good.
You told them not to boo, but I knew they'd boo on that one.
They paused to their
Did he tell them not to boo? What was that? What is going on? Why would he tell them not to boo? What is that about?
You told them not to boo, but I knew they'd boo on that one.
They paused to their respect. You were asking for it, Cenk.
Yeah, I did. I did ask for it. So
I'm for gun control. It's just really difficult. That's not a populist take. That's why we need to define these terms. Number one, it's in the Constitution, but even forget about that. What does populism mean to you, Cenk? You come into the stage and say you're a populist. Populism is the belief, in my opinion, that power should be distributed to as many people as possible. So when you talk about artificial intelligence, that power has to be distributed to as many people as possible. If it's concentrated, we are effed. When you talk about the weaponry and you talk about guns, that power has to be distributed to as many people as possible, or we're effed. That's a populist left position. That is, you go back to the Black Panthers. The Black Panthers were pro 2A. They weren't gun control advocates in California. So I don't even know what I'm a populist. This guy gets on the stage and says I'm a populist who's for gun control, who's for the federal government to have a monopoly on guns. How does that, can someone make that make sense to me?
My point to my left-wing allies is, am I going to emphasize and insist and demand on my gun control policies when we're in the middle of a national election?
Gun control?
No, because
What the
I know those are not winning issues at this point. I've got more work to do to convince the American people before we get there. So if on trans issues or any other, or crime issues, etc.
What are the trans issues?
Really believe
What are the trans issues? They're not.
in the most far left positions, as I do on gun control, for example, that's okay. But you've got to know what to emphasize and what not to emphasize. And so if you say, no, I'm going to die on every extreme hill, well, you will. Electorally, politically, you will die on that hill.
What about Israel, Cenk? Is that a hill or not?
And then you lose on all of your issues, because it's sometimes a binary game. Certainly elections are. So you got to know what to convince the American people of and what to hold your ground on. And the number one thing to hold your ground on is constitutional rights. So I'm going to do
Jesus Christ. Within 2 minutes, he says, I'm for gun control, and then hold your ground on constitutional rights.
Like the Second Amendment.
So awkward.
So, no, I know. So guys, look at that. We totally disagree on that issue, but we just...
You were asking for that one. I'm
No,
sorry.
no problem. No, but look, but that was an important moment, because we totally disagree on that issue, but we just shook hands anyway. And you know what we'll do afterwards? We'll have a beer. So, you know what it is when you disagree on something and then you fight about it and then you have a beer afterwards? That's called America. So let me see if I can get agreement, and this I don't know which way this is going to go, okay? So when we talk about trans issues in terms of sports, I know we have massive disagreements, okay? And on one of those issues, professional sports, I agree with you guys. On high school sports, I don't. We'll go get into a bloody battle on that, okay? But I want to ask you guys something. Do you believe that trans Americans should have the same constitutional rights as all Americans to employment, health care, and housing?
What are you talking about? Who said that they didn't? What kind of question is that? Who said the take is everybody has the same rights? Why are we talking about blacks or whoever else or transformers? Let's hear how that goes. What is the take? What are the rights that they don't have?
Constitutional rights.
Do you want me to translate? Well, there is no constitutional right to housing.
Okay.
Thank you. Like, what are we talking about? I love Charlie Kirk's a debate, bro. He's really good. I mean, he looks like he's forced to do this. I think Charlie Kirk in his heart loves these conversations, but to bring him on the stage, I don't think this was Charlie Kirk would love to have him on his podcast, on his radio show. Not here, in my opinion. I follow Charlie Kirk pretty closely.
So I hear you. What I got out of that, guys.
I'm just trying to be the interpreter.
Yeah.
No, there was a lot of applause and there was some consternation, right?
Yeah.
I'll take it. It's a start. So guys, when we can even disagree about what's constitutional, Second Amendment, housing, etc. But just
wait, no, we can't. We can't argue that housing is not a constitutional right. We can't argue that. Is it just like healthcare? With Nina Turner, is it Nina Turner? Yeah, Nina Turner. I always think about Tina Turner, so I mess her name up. Nina Turner did the tweet and said, healthcare is a American right or something like that. And no, it's not. Is it the right thing to do? I do agree with healthcare, basic level of coverage, if you can take the money spending from somewhere else, not extra spending. But it's not a right. The right thing to do is not the same as a right.
Let's treat everyone as Americans. And I say that to the right and I say it to the
For
left.
sure. So we're going to go a little overtime because I know the boss here. And there's two things. I want to.
He's joking. He's the boss. I mean, everybody answers to someone, but he is the boss, so that's the joke.
But free speech. And then I want to try to say, can we get one or two action items that this community can get behind in this new Congress and this presidency that are populist that maybe we can push for and advocate for? I want to try to maybe see if we could brainstorm that together. Number one, first on free speech. Do you think that the left, and you are an exception, is ready to embrace a robust, spirited culture of freedom of speech where disagreement is welcome, where you're able to have these kind of dialogues and forums? And I think it's a tragedy. It seems to be that more the right is willing to do it. Prove me wrong if that really is the case.
So we're going to end with this. It's been a good kind of react to it. It's been entertaining. I really enjoyed it. I'm not changing my take on it, but I won't have time to do the comments. We'll do that another time. I want to go through what I mean by that is if you comment thoughtfully on any one of the videos on After Show Carnage, then I will want to do a react to it. So I want to take some time and like the well thought out ones. But let's finish this off.
Yeah, I'm trying to remind the left of who we are, because the left is supposed to be for freedom of speech. The left needs freedom. If you're gay or you're trans or you're Muslim or you're someone that was otherized at some point in your life, you need freedom more than anyone else does.
What?
You need equality more than anyone else does. You need justice more than anyone else does. So if you want those things, you've got to reciprocate. So you've got to not, I want you guys to not assume that we hate you or that we're evil or that we're bad. But if we're going to do that, the left wing has to do the same. They have to assume that you're not evil, that you don't hate them, and you're not all of these things. So I know from time to time we'll still get back into the battles and we'll still call each other names.
We'll finish this off, but great comment here. Thanks for stopping by. Ahe Jews. But let me say this. This comment is, Cenk is fighting the fake YouTube leftists who are trolls. I think this is a good point. He's not talking about the authentic ones. The ones that I name off all the time, from the Nico Houses to the Craig Pastas to the Fiorella Isabels to the Sabby Sabs to the Nick Cruz of Revolutionary Blackout Network to Rome Bethea to all these people who Kim Iverson, Jimmy Dore. He might try to talk about Jimmy Dore because they have beef, but he's not really talking about the real left. He doesn't want the problem with real left. They come correct. They stream all day. They have thought through these issues. And of course, Charlie Kirk would never invite them because he wouldn't know what they would say. Let's get back to finishing this off. Thanks for the comment.
Right? But overall, if we can begin to not hate each other, and so when we disagree, let's try two more real quick here. When we disagree, can we agree to not hate each other?
No, I can't agree to that. I'm not proud of that, but like I said before, when you have certain positions, then there is no other. If you advocate for imprisoning the people who are more my political allies, if you advocate for banning the speech of the people who are my political allies, then I don't know what word to use other than hate. From a political standpoint, as much as you could hate, I don't know you, so I don't like using that word. But from a political standpoint, yeah, I'm going to hate your positions.
All right, excellent. And when we have these fights, to Charlie's point, can we, for the first time in my lifetime, begin to actually listen to one another?
This is kind of whack.
And Charlie,
yeah.
I'll give you credit on this, because one of the turning points, if you will, in how I started to view the right wing is when you came on the Young Turks at the RNC.
Yeah, I remember that.
You know, we started talking about banning private equity from buying residential real estate.
Which I totally agree with.
Yeah,
That the young people in this audience should not have to compete against BlackRock to be able to own a home. Do you guys agree?
Good way to end it. Yeah.
So we've got a populist plank on tyt.com that's one of the 6 pillars, right? And all my life I go on Republican shows, I go on right-wing shows. When I say something against the bankers, they're like, no, the bankers are great, the bankers are great. Oh, I was so frustrated. And now all of a sudden we got the right-wing
It's not new.
saying let's ban the bankers from buying our homes so they don't drive up the prices. Yes. The left, take yes for an answer. Take yes for an answer. And look, what I said online on X was, at least what we got out of this election is, we're no longer in an establishment prison. Now we're in the populist woods, right? And if you say, yeah, but we're going to fight in the populist woods, yes, but at least we're all human out here. We defeated the corporate robots, and we've got more fights with the corporate robots to come. But out here in the woods, when I see you guys, I don't hate you anymore, right? I see my fellow Americans.
Okay. It was good. I've had enough. I'm done. I'm done. I'm good. Let me know what you think. I appreciate you stopping by after show Carnage. If you want to continue the discussion, I got to put the link to the Discord. But if you look at any of the other videos, I'm going to put the link into this one after I'm done. This will be unlisted, though. Any lives will be unlisted. You'll have to go to the homepage to find them. You could go to the Discord, continue the conversation. The Discord is called Stuck in the Middle. I did another channel called another channel called Middle MAGA. So if you see that stuff, don't get confused. It has been After Show Carnage. Let me know what you think on Cenk Uygur, the Young Turks, meeting up with Charlie Kirk and TP USA.
The next clip is ready below. Welcome to After Show Carnage.